Why does change feel so simple and easy when we think or talk about it, but so hard to actually go through? Most of us know that change is necessary in order to become a different version of who we are. We see everything around us constantly changing without any effort. The trees, the clouds, the weather. But when it comes to changing ourselves, suddenly it feels impossible. Even when we finally, by some miracle, manage to change something, quitting a bad habit, setting a boundary, or leaving an unhealthy situation, we slip back into our old ways filled with shame and regret. In that moment, we feel like we have failed, and we promise ourselves that we will do better the next time we try. And yet, we keep falling into that same pattern over and over. So why is change so difficult even when we are so aware of it? Why do we resist it so much? Most people assume that we avoid change because we are lazy or lack some willpower. But that isn't the case. We don't have a problem with change itself, but rather what it takes away from us. We know that if we change, we might end up losing things that we deeply care about. The people we love, the community we belong to, or the job we worked so hard to get. And we don't just risk losing those things. We risk losing all the parts of ourselves that are attached to them. Our identity, our values, or who we are as people. But the harsh truth that we don't want to accept is this: change always comes with a sacrifice. Change is loss, and loss is something we don't like to go through. And there is actually a good reason for that. Before modernity, we lived most of our lives in the same place with our community or tribe. A time where our environment was our only safe haven, protecting us from outside harm. Going through change usually meant that something catastrophic was happening. People raiding our village, sickness infecting the people around us, or a bad season killing our crops, forcing us to move to a new place where we could rebuild and call home. It makes sense that the brain isn't really built to see change as growth. It is wired to see it as danger, something to run away and protect ourselves from. And the brain seeks that protection by staying with the known and familiar, which happens to be our current lives. We hold on to everything we have even when it hurts. We cling so strongly to who we are even when that stops us from becoming who we could be. We do that because we think the alternative means losing our safety and our familiarity, and that feels like death to our brain. So, if we evolve to view change as death, how do we move through it in the very different world we live in now? How do we become someone new without falling back into the old? When we spend a big chunk of our lives living in a certain way, abandoning it does feel like a punishment. A void inside us begins to form as we go through any kind of change. An empty space where our old selves used to live. This empty space calls us loudly and desperately, begging us to return to how we used to be. You can see examples of it in everyone around you. The alcohol addicts who fall back to their old habit after quitting. The people who go back to their toxic exes even after they destroy their lives. Or the countless other people who move out of their hometown only to return to it shortly after. We think that those people aren't aware of the damage the sameness and familiarity is causing to them. But they always are. They know the risk, they know the damage, and yet they keep going back. This emptiness inside every one of us doesn't understand that we must die before we are born again. It doesn't know that endings lead to new beginnings, that death is what creates space for rebirth. Letting go of older parts of ourselves doesn't mean that we erase or deny them. Everything in the past shaped who we are now and who we may become next. It all played its role in the trajectory of our story. We don't reject the past by letting it go. We honor it by releasing it. And once we are able to take that step, we are finally ready to the next part of our lives. The in-between stage in change can be uncomfortable, even frightening. It's like walking in the dark without a map. We aren't sure about anything. We have no solid identity to hold on to and no future self to lean on yet. Just us alone without clear directions. But this is where real growth actually happens. Not when we are certain of where we are going, but in the willingness to continue without having any answers. The moment you stop walking backwards, you are already changing.